Right, welcome back to Genius. So this is day 7. We have done quite a lot in from day 1 to day 6. So let's see something more practical. I wish I had more time to really do more of this project, but because of we don't have time and we don't want this thing to be more than 30, 40 minutes. I have just found a way to make it shorter. But the thing is that normally I am supposed to write the code while you watch me while I explain the code that I'm writing, but because of time, this wouldn't work. So, but what we do is this. I'm going to explain every single part of this project, every single part of this program that I have written. I'm going to explain it to you. And if you also want the code, as in the source code, please reach out on the WhatsApp group and ask for the source code and I will send it to you. In fact, I will drop the source code in the WhatsApp group. Yes, I will drop it. After this, I'm going to drop the source code in the WhatsApp group. But whenever you watch this video and you want the source code, please let me know so that I can drop it, I can send it to you. Okay? All right. So we are building a command line interface application using Node.js. So we are building a to-do app using Node.js. So basically, what a command line application interface application is that you'll be using um, the command prompt. You can use it on the command prompt, and then you will just be you will just be. Of course, you have been using command line applications already. When we say node will now type in all the stuff that the if the what am I even saying? When you say node index, or when you say node, you enter into the node mode and you start working with JavaScript in the node. So that node application, node itself is an application and it is a command line application. So, but in this one, we are not going to create it as an executable. Yes. So because we have not really done Node. All right. We have not really done Node.js. So after we finish the section of Node.js, then we will rebuild, we will redesign or redevelop this particular application so that we'll use more of Node, uh, um, um, the things that we learned from Node.js would add them to this application and make it even better and bigger. So for now, it is not going to just going to be something that will just run on the command prompt as a script. Okay, so program decomposition. So we have the whole program. I have decomposed it into its different parts. The first part is the initialization part. The initialization part where you initialize all the variables. Okay, so we do the initialization part where we do the setup. Then we also do the data management layer because the thing is that as we are storing our to-dos, the to-dos that we are getting, we need to store it. All right, we need to store the to-dos. All right, the things that we want to do, we need to store it so that we can retrieve it at any time. So we have the initialization part, we have the data management part layer. We also have the user interface. Of course, what the user will see, what are they going to be seeing? So we have like a menu that the user will be seeing, and they will be writing whatever the user interface is prompting them to do. Then we now have the operations that do the job, like adding tasks, deleting tasks, whatever. So this is like the model MVC, model view controller architecture. So we have the model, which is the data management layer. We have the view, the one that the user would see, and we have the controller. So don't worry, as we keep on going, all right, you get to understand more of this. And if you could take a course on software engineering, or you will get to understand most of this architecture. Okay. So now we also have the execution point, the main entry where we run the code so that our code will run. So these are the things we'll be looking at. This is how we have decomposed the whole program. We have divided it into small chunks that can help us build the application. So let's describe how the program works. Program is initialization. So from the beginning, we initialize the program. So when the program starts, it checks if a storage file exists. Okay. So now if the file exists, the program loads the task from it into memory. Okay. Then if it doesn't exist, the program starts with an empty task list. And then each task is stored as an object with properties such as this. So now look at what we are saying here. When we start the program, we are going to check if we have any storage file, like the tasks that the user wants to perform. All right. This is a to-do list. So people are saying, okay, these are the tasks I'm going to do for the day, for the week, for the year, whatever it is. So we have to first of all check if we already have a file like that. If the file exists, then the program will load the tasks from it into memory. So of course, when we say we are loading it into memory, we mean that every program has their internal memory. So as the program is running, the program has an internal memory. So if we have something, we could load this thing from the database. But in this case, we're not working with database, we're just working with a storage file, a tags.json file. So we will, if that file exists, we'll load the task from the JSON file and load it into memory. The current program that is running has a memory. So if it doesn't exist, the program will start with an empty task list. So we have an array. So now each task is an object with these properties. It has the text. So the text is the task the user really want to perform. So this one is say finish homework. So what is the category? So the category is school. The deadline is okay, this is the deadline. And then is this task done? False. So this is the structure of the task. We have the test, we have the category, we have the deadline, and we have it if the user has completed the task or not. Okay. So now this is program initialization. So we also have the menu system. The menu system displays a menu-driven system in the terminal using the readline module. Now this readline module is a built-in module from Node.js. We use it to get data or get input from a user. So we are not going to talk about it here. Well, we'll talk about it when we start talking about Node.js. We also have the FS module. So there are some things you might not understand in this code. Don't bother about it. Just copy, do as I do for now. But I'll try to explain as much as I can explain. But the things that we have not talked already, like this kind of module, you don't know what a module is, so I'm not going to talk about modules here. So, but we are still going to use this module to work, okay? So users can choose options by entering the corresponding number. So we are going to present users with, just like when you go to the ATM machine will give you a menu of what the things you want to do. So you can click on those items. But in our case, all right, our case is not a clickable distance. So the user will have to we present the menu system, show the user the things that they can do and tell them the numbers they can actually type. So any number they enter will correspond to a particular task. So the user can choose options by entering the corresponding number. So when they enter that number, like example now, so this is the example, the menu. So in this case, we are telling the user, all right, to enter any of the, if the user enters 1, that means the user wants to view the task that he or she has. If the user enters 2, the user wants to add a task. If the user enters 3, the user wants to edit a task. So something like that, okay? So if the user enters 7, the user would want to view tasks by deadline. All right, so if the user enters 0, the user wants to exit from the application. Okay, so don't worry. If this thing is not making sense, it is okay. One thing I need you to understand is, even me that is teaching you, when I try to learn something new, it is also difficult. It's frustrating, but you have to hold your cool. You have to maintain your cool. Don't get frustrated. The way I do my things is that when I try to learn something new and I'm not grabbing it immediately, I would leave it and come back to it. Or I can just skip something. That is why I have been saying, in case you do not understand some things, skip it. But most of the things we are going to be doing here, function, switch statement, if statement, all those things, we have already done them. And please, I am available. If you do not understand anything, reach out to me. I am available. I'm very much available. So if you don't understand something, reach out to me. The WhatsApp group is open and very, very interactive. Drop it in the WhatsApp group, okay? All right. So these are the tasks that the user can perform. So we are showing them as a menu, just like when you go to the ATM machine ATM machine will tell you, do you want, is this savings, whatever, enter PIN, whatever it is. So basically this is, so after this program, you can create an ATM machine program too. Guys, one thing I'm very sure is this. You see, computer programming is very interesting. Very, very interesting. And why it is very, very interesting to me is that it pays well. But the thing is that, guys, you have to work very hard. Come on, come on. I really mean it. You have to work very, very, very hard. I'm telling you, you have to work very, very hard. There is big opportunity in tech, but it's not for mediocres. You have to work very, very hard. You need to learn. You need to study. You can see that I am already giving you how many books. You need to study all those books. Take your time. Cut out some things that are eating up your time. Give this thing time. Give it time. Learn, study, read books. All right? Practice. It's very, very rewarding. I can tell you. I can really tell you it's very, very rewarding. Okay? All right. So the operations that we are going to take a look at, we will have operations like view all the tasks. So users can view all tasks. So when users select that they want to view all tasks, so this particular operation will display tasks with their number, their test, their category, their deadline, and their completion status. So when a user says that they want to view task, we will have a function that will then perform, that will show the user the task that they have created, their number, their test, their deadline, and their completion status. The user can also add task. So we ask this add task asks the user for task description, the category, the deadline. So a new task is created and stored. So when the user says, I want to add a task, all right, we are going to we'll ask the user for the name of the task, the category, the deadline, and once they enter all these things, we will now create an object and store it inside inside the to-dos array. All right. So the user can also edit a task. Let the user select a task by number. So every task has a number. So the user will have to give us the task number, and then we can modify it using the edit task function. Don't worry, I'm going to show you all these functions later on. So user can also delete a task. They remove a task from the array by number. Users can mark tasks as done or undone. So you can toggle the done property, like the status, the completion status of the task. User can also filter if they don't want to view all the tasks. They can only display tasks belonging to a particular category. So they can filter. Remember the filter method we did in array. All right. So it's time for us to make use of it. So user can also view by deadline. So this is also filtering. We can filter, or we can sort. This task displays tasks sorted by their deadline dates. So you can view tasks based on deadline. You can also exit. So when the user clicks exit, so we will save the current task back into the task.json file, and then closes this CLI using this ROL is readline.close method. So we will, of course, if we open the read line for users to give us inputs, we would also have to close it whenever we finish. So now these are the operations that this user can perform using this our application. So this is your first software, guys. See, it doesn't matter how small or how big it is. Now, small we take a go. You have started this is your first project. This is your first program. It doesn't matter. All right. So now persistence, we need to save. All right. We need to save. We need to save and we need to load. If not, after the program exists, we will not have the task again. So the program uses the FS module. FS module is used to read and write to files. Okay, to read and write to a JSON file. So of course, you don't know we have not done JSON, but we will do it in later classes. Okay, JSON. So you need to understand what JSON is. So this ensures that tasks are saved between runs of the program. So even if you run the program, enter some tasks, when you close the program, the tasks that the user have created will be saved, so that we don't have to, when you open it again, it doesn't have to be blank. So the data will be saved. So example is this. We are using the fs.write file sync. All right, so this is a method in the FS module. It will take the name of the file, then it will take it will take a string. So in this case, okay, don't worry. When we get there, I will explain this code. Okay, when we get there, I will explain this code. Okay, so we also need to handle some errors. So if the user enters an invalid option, like wrong tax number, the program shows an error message and returns to the main instead of crashing. So you always have to check for errors in your application. You have to be mindful of errors because users will give you errors. Okay, so this makes the application robust and user friendly. So now program exit. When the user selects exit, the program will save all the tasks to task.json file and then closes the readline interface with readline.close method. So when you open the readline interface, you need to also close it, okay, because it's a resource. And then you cannot just allow your resource to just be open like that. Okay, so you need to be closed. So now this ends execution cleanly. All right, so let's get to the main thing. So let's talk about initialization. Okay. So I'm going to now walk you through the code. So in this initialization, we are going to import the built-in modules. We'll import the FS. So we are going to be using this FS module to save and load tags from file or read. Basically, FS is used to read and write to a file. All right, we'll use the read line for user input in command line interface. All right, I chose not to use any library apart from the library or module in Node.js. There are other couple of modules that we can also use, but I want it to be very naked and very raw. All right, so you need to learn. We all need to learn. Okay, so once we import the required modules, the FS and the read line, we will create the readline interface for terminal IO. IO means input output. So user giving us, we're taking input from user and we are giving user output too. So we will define file name tags.json for persistence, and then we can load tags from file if it exists. So now, this is the initialization. So first of all, we will import the libraries. So let me just show you in code. So the first thing we do is to import the libraries. So we have imported the readline, all right? We have imported the readline library. Don't bother about this if you don't understand it. We have not talked about modules or how to import, all right? But don't bother. When we talk about the next week, we will be talking about Git and version control system. So after that, we'll now go back again to JavaScript. After the JavaScript again, we'll now do Node.js. So just be patient. This 100 days is going to be interesting. So these are modules. So what is a module? A module is like a code or a code that somebody has written to make life easier for himself or for every other person. Okay, so somebody or Node.js team has written some code that can help us read and write, collect information from user, input from user, and also output information to user. So they have created this thing and they have made it available to us. So that is, we got it as a module. The FS module is also the same thing. They have written a program or a library or a code that can help us read and write to file system. All right. So we imported them. After we importing them, we now initialize the create interface. So in this case now, the read line, we need to like I said, I'm not going to explain too much about these things, but the readline.create interface, all right, it will create an interface for us to use to get information from user and also output to them. So basically, that's what it does. So this is the create interface takes an object. All right, you can see all those things that we have learned. This is an object. All right. So first of all, this could also be an object. No, sorry, it's a module. So modules are exported as objects. So, but this is an object, and this in this object we are assessing. Remember the dot operator that we use to assess properties and methods of an object. So the create interface is a function or is a method that is part of the readline object. Okay, so of course, the readline is a module, but more or less it's an object. Okay, so we are assessing the create interface from it. Then this create interface is expecting, this create interface method is expecting an object as its argument. So we are passing in the input and the output, and the value of this input is processed. This process is a built-in module in Node.js. Okay, so this is used for a standard in means standard input. Standard std out means standard output. So this is used for getting input from users. This is used from getting giving outputs to users. Okay, so we have given this the object it needs. So these are the things it will use to work. So after initializing this, we now created an empty array. So we are creating an empty array, to-dos array here. Do you understand? In this case, we are not using the let keyword because sometime within our program, we might be changing it. So we didn't, if you use the const keyword, you cannot reassign it. That's why we are using the let keyword. So this to do now is an array. Okay, so this is our initialization. This is our initialization. So as soon as the program loads, what do we want to do? We want to load the task. So remember that JavaScript program runs from top to bottom. So each line will run after each other. Okay, the lines below, other lines will run after the lines above them. So when we get here, this function will be called. Okay, no, the function is not called here. So, but this is a function we use to load. All right. So all these functions are not called here, but what is called here is the show menu. Okay, now you can see that the load task is called from here. So this is the start of our application. Okay, or maybe let me take this thing to the top. Yeah, let me take this thing to the top. So this is how the program runs. All right, so once we create the to-do array, we now call these functions. First of all, we'll call the load task function. After calling the load task function, we'll now call the show menu function. Okay, but I'm coming back to that. This is not initialization. So let's go back to our slide. So we will create the read line interface, like you have already seen. In this case, there is a file created here. All right, then the to-dos, but we didn't create this file. We chose another method. All right, so you can also create the file, and then we are checking. So this is just initialization in a different way, but our own initialization is different. So, but this is another way of initializing the program. Here, you created a constant, and then this is the name of the file. Sorry, this is the name of the JSON file. So we are here saying that if this file exists, all right, if the file exists, we want to read the file, all right, get the data, pass it to the JSON.pass method, and save it in the to-do. So, but somehow we have a different implementation on our code, but they are most the same thing. So we imported the modules, we created our read line interface. We now stored the JSON file, the name of the JSON file. We stored it in this file. So this is just a string. So we now said if this file exists, we would load the data in this file. Okay. So data management layer. So this handles the storage and retrieval of tasks. So this has to do with the save task method. So save task save to-dos array to task.json. To-dos array store objects like the text, the string, but we have something more than this now. So let's go back and show you the data management layer. So this is the save task. All right, this is the save task. So what we are doing is that anytime we call this save task method function, we would use the fs module. All right, and we are using this function to write to this task. So you see this name, we could have actually changed it, we've actually stored it in a variable and use that variable, but we didn't do that. But you can actually do that. Okay, so now we are writing to this file, and then we are stringifying. Don't worry, you will get to understand JSON stringify method later. So we are just converting this to do is an array. All right. since it's an array, we cannot store an array in a file. We will only store text in a file. So that's why we need to store, that's why we need to store the text here. So I can take this guy out from here, and inside here, I can just create a constant, and I will call it, I could just call it test. Do you understand? I could just call it test. So whatever this function returns, all right, we will not take it and put it here. So this is just the same thing. Okay? So this is just the same thing. So this is our management, data management layer. So whenever we call this save tax method or function, we will take the whatever we have in this to do array, we will stringify it. So we are converting it to a string. That is JSON. We are converting it to a JSON string. So JSON, don't worry, we'll talk about this. I'm sorry that I try not to bring things that we have not discussed into this program, but I still think it's a good thing, giving you heads up. All right. So with the JSON.stringify method, we will take an object, something like an array, an object, and convert it. This method will convert it to a string. Then this is going to be a string. Look at it, the data type of this text is a string. And that's what we now give the right file sync. So it will get the name of the file, which is JSON.tags.json, and then write this text to it. And this JSON is what we have here. So, but let me just delete it so that, let me delete it. Okay. So now, we have it here. Okay. So this is the saving. So when we call this load task, okay, the thing is this, if this does not, this load task says if this does not exist, if this exists, then we'll then run this code. But in this case now, you can see that our task.json does not exist anymore. So this will not run because the if condition, the condition didn't go through, so it will not run. Okay. Now, we have I've shown you the data management layer. Okay. So this is the function here. So it will save. So whenever we call this, it will save. So we also have the user interface. So the user interface is the menu that we display to the user to select or add a task. So the show menu prints available options and routes to the correct function. So it will print the available options. So based on the option that the user chose, it will route to the correct function depending on what the user chose. Okay. So we also have the view task that the user would, if the user wants to view task, they would also view task based with the index and the status. Okay. So now let's get to work. Okay. Now let me now take everything. So this is what I'm going to do. Sorry. I'm going to, maybe I should dock this thing somewhere. So, I want to put it side by side. It's been a long time I did this, so let me find it. Scroll to previous note, scroll to next comment, clear. Okay, no, it's not that. Split terminal. No, I don't want to split terminal, sorry. Oh, this does not even make sense. It doesn't still give me what I want. Come on, guys. uh, I want it to come by the side. Oh. Oh, okay. I just wanted to come by the side. I don't know. It's been a long time I did something like this. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Oh boy, no, that's not what I want. Okay. Hmm. I don't want to split timing. Okay, so let's just manage what we have here. I still believe that I could do this, but I don't want to waste our time here. It could take me some time to do that. All right, no problem. So now I'm going to run this program. I'm going to, I will delete this terminal. I'm going to run this program. So let me show you how this thing works. I'll run this program. All right. So my file name is index.js. I will say node index. All right. So you can see, look at what happens. Let me show you what has exactly happened here. As soon as I run this program, as soon as this program, I run this program, the first thing that comes here is all this code will run, will be executed. Then the load task will be called too. You understand? So the load task will call. Now, once the load task is called, look at what will happen. Of course, we have the to do as an empty array here. So when the load task is called, the function is called, it will check if this guy exists. You can see in this case now, this task.json file does not exist here. So this code will not run. All right, it will not run this code. So the load tasks have just been called. Then the next thing is to call the show menu. All right, show menu now shows us, okay, so we said to do list, CLI app, blah, blah, blah. Now it's saying choose an option. So these are the options. These are the options. So depending on what the user chooses, if they say, if I type in one now, it will ask me for adding a task. So let me just type 2. So choose an option, I will type 2. Once I type 2, I will hit enter. Look at what it says. It says your to-do list, no task yet. And then it's also, once it says no task, it also showed me the menu again. So now let me show you exactly what is happening here. Let's go to the show menu method. Now this is the show menu method. All right. You can see that the show menu method is running a console.log. So that is what you're seeing here. You see, that's what you're seeing here. I just wish I could have this thing by the side. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the term. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open. So I'm going to open the terminal from here. Shift Control, right click. All right, I will open the terminal from here. Okay, so this will be better for me. All right, so I'm closing this, and then oh my God, I can't run the two of them at the same time. I only have to show one screen at a time. Oh my God. So I will just want this. Okay, I think it's possible. Okay, so look at what is happening here. I think this will be better. So I could just minimize this. Okay, that will be good. I just wanted to see everything I'm doing here. Okay, so I would minimize this. No, 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 no. That's not what I want. So I'm going to minimize it so that I can also have, yeah, I think this is okay. This is okay. We can read our code like this. So now this is the show menu. So when I call, all right. So let me also expand this. Okay. So when I say node index, you can see immediately I called this function, immediately I started this application. Like I have already told you, these guys would run. All right, these statements will be executed, and then this load task will run, sorry. So once it runs, it will come inside here, and nothing is happening because the file does not exist. Then it calls the show menu method. So this is the show menu function. The show menu function, the first thing in the show menu function is this console.log. So you can see it, that's what we have here. Then after that, what next do we have? We have the read line. Remember that this read line is the read line interface that we have created here. So we can now use this readline interface to get input from users. So one of the functions or methods of this readline interface is the question. So you use this method to ask a user a question. So now the first parameter or the first argument of this function is the text that would appear that the user would see. That's the first parameter, and that's what you're saying here. Look at it. It says choose an option. Do you understand? Then the second parameter is now a callback function. I showed you guys what a okay, I didn't explain callback function in details, but a callback function is, we are using an arrow function here. Sorry, we will still talk about callback functions. We still have more JavaScript to learn, so we'll talk about it after the week of Git and GitHub. We'll talk more about advanced JavaScript. So this is a callback function. It's just an arrow function. So there are some things I might not really explain here, but we'll talk more about it when we talk about asynchronous programming and stuff like that. Okay, but in this case, this is just a function. And then once the user types in anything here, that anything they type here would be assigned to this variable here. Do you understand? So anything I type in here now will be assigned to this variable here. And once it is assigned to this variable, we would have it here. So we are now using the switch statement. We are now switching on the value. We are switching on the value. And please remember, anything that you get as an input from the user is always a string. So that is why we are checking it against. The first case is it string 1? If it is string 1, what do? We go and call the add tags function. If it is string 2, we go and call the view tags function. If it is string 3, we go and call the toggle tags function. If it is string 4, we go and, you understand? So this is a switch statement. And if it is 0, we will tell the user console.log goodbye. So remember, 0 is exit. Look at it here now. 0 is exit. So when the user types 0, it is they want to exit the program. So once they do that, we will close the readline interface that we have created. All right, and then the program ends. Okay, but in this case now, if the user does not type any of the valid option, we would write this thing to the user. All right, and then also call the show menu back again. So it will be repetitive. All right, so now you see what we have here now. Okay, so now in case I type in, okay, let's start from option 1. If I type in 1, what would happen? Look at what will happen. The choice now will not be, as I've typed in 1 now, the value of this choice now will be 1. So it will now come down to the switch statement and check which case does it match. It matches this case. So it will now call the case says the next statement after the case to run is to call the add tags function. So as I have typed in 1, I hit enter. Look at what it has done. It has not gone to the add tags method, the add tags function, and it says enter new tags. So let me explain to you now. So as soon as this case matched, all right, this add tags function will be called. Let me go to its definition. Now, this is what happens. So immediately it gets in here. Look at what the function does. Inside the function, we are asking the user a question, enter new task. Look at it here. Do you understand? And of course, we are creating a new line. We are creating a new line so that there will be space between, you can see there is a new line here. All right, so we are creating a new line here as in this string. And then whatever the user types in here will be added as tags here. And then once anything I type in here, the system takes it as tags. So the system will come and check. First of all, to check if this is empty, because I can just type in empty. If I hit enter now, this task is going to be empty. And once it is empty, we are coming here to check for errors. Task.trim. When you trim a string, you're trimming the leading and the trailing white spaces. Now, if you don't understand some of these string methods, please go to our JavaScript course. Like I've told you, you have that course for free of charge. Go and study that course. We explain string in details. All these methods were explained in details in that course. So the trim method would remove trailing and it removes leading and trailing spaces. So, and if we remove the leading and trailing spaces and it is equal to an empty string, that means the user did not enter anything. So we tell the user that task cannot be empty. So let's try it out. So I did not enter anything. I'll just enter. I will just hit enter. So because I have hit enter, the task value here will be an empty string, and this would evaluate to true. And then that is why we now set to the user task cannot be empty. And immediately that we are saying return show menu. So we are returning from this other function, and we are calling the show menu function. And that is why you saw the show menu function was called again, and we have this menu. So now they're also asking us choose an option. So I will still go back to the add task menu option. So we are back to enter new task. So in this case, now I'm going to enter a valid task. So once I enter a valid task, this option, this evaluation will be false. So this code will not run. Then we'll just go down here. So immediately I enter a task. Let me expand this thing a bit. This thing is okay. All right. So I will take this one close. Okay, this could also work. All right. So now immediately I enter a task now. All right. This code will not execute because task is no longer an empty string. It will come down here. And then immediately the user enters a task, we are asking them for the category of the task. All right. And this is the test we are showing the user. If they enter it, immediately they enter it, the value will be stored in category. Then we ask another question, the deadline. The deadline will be entered here. And then once we get it, we will now remember the push method. So remember, this is an array. So we are calling the push method so that we want to add a task to this array that we already have. So we are adding an object. Remember, the to-dos, each of the to-do is an object. So we are adding an object here. So this is what will happen. So if I enter a task now, I will say read JS book. Okay. Now I have entered a task. So this read.js book will be assigned to this task variable here. Okay. So once I do that, I hit enter. So we already have a task now, read.js book. So it is not empty, so it will come down here. Then once it comes down here, the next thing we are doing is that we're asking a question. We are asking a question. What is the category? So enter a category. So the category can be the category can also be empty. You can see that we are not checking if it is empty. So the user can give us an empty category. So in case the user gives us empty category, we are coming here to say that we'll assign general to it. Remember the OR operator. All right. So if this thing is empty, if this value is false, the value we got from this category, if it is false, remember false values are anything like empty string, null, undefined, or zero. They are false values. So if this guy is empty or false value, we would assign general to category. And deadline can also be empty. If it is empty, we would assign deadline to it. So if you don't understand this code, go back and read comparison operator. All right, go back and read. Is it comparison logical operator? Sorry, not comparison operator, logical operator. All right, go back in this particular series. Go back and read logical operator. Okay, so now, of course, let me enter something. I will enter study. Since I'm reading a book, I will enter study. So that's my category. Then what's the deadline? So in this case, I'm not going to enter deadline. I will just hit enter so that now, because this category now is going to be, this category is study, general will not be given to it anymore. So this is true. So it will be assigned to this. But in this case, my deadline now is going to be nothing. So I am not going to add, and so they would assign, this code now will assign no deadline to it. So if I hit enter, you can see, all right, it says once this whole thing, once we are out of this function, all right, we are calling the save task. Remember what the save task does. Look at it here. The save task would where is it again? It will take the test. It will take the to-dos. Remember, we have pushed we have pushed this particular object now into the to-dos. All right. Then it will take the to-dos, stringify it, and then write it to this file. So in this case, since the file does not exist, all right, it would create, FS would create the file. So if you see now, the file has been created. And you can see now we only have one task in this JSON file. And you can see that the deadline says no deadline because I didn't enter anything. So it gave it a default value of deadline. Okay, so back to our code. So now, after calling the save task, it now told us that task added successfully. So look at it here. It says task added successfully, and then now call the show menu again. Remember what the show menu does. The show menu will show us these things. So now this is what it does line by line. So if I go on now and enter view task, so I will enter 2 to view my task. If I enter 2 and hit enter, so once I hit 2, so let me now go back to this show menu, the switch. So 2 says view task. So once I hit enter, so it will call the view task function. Let's go to and see what we have in the view task function. So what does the view task does? First of all, it will do console.log, all right, in a new line. And that's what we saw here. That's what we are seeing here, your to-do list. All right. So it will now check if the to-do if this array.length is equal to 0. So if this array is empty, it will tell us that no task yet. But in this case, our array is not empty. All right, our array is not empty because we have a task that we have pushed into it. So after doing that, if else, all right, else, it will now loop through all the arrays, the elements, and they are using the for each loop. Remember the for each loop that we did. So this is the task, this is the index, and it will now use the task and the index to create a string for us. So they just use the string literal to create a string for us here. So that's what we have here. So it says, this is the task. Read.js book is the task, and this is the category, and this is the deadline. Do you understand? All right. So that's how it works. So now it says show menu again. So if I want to toggle tags, all right, I will still enter the category, and then it will come to toggle task. It will come to toggle task and do a lot of things here. So you can see how this program works. Please ask for this code. All right. I'll be ending the video here. All right. So you can see I've shown how this program works. So if you want to know more about this, get the code and read it. See, in as much as I'm teaching you, I still want you to push yourself. You can see how I was reading the code line by line. So I think I have given you the basics. So I want you to go on. You see this toggle task. I want you to go on and study it and read it. See, one skill that will really help you is you being able to read other people's code. At any point that you start to read other people's code, that means you don't sabi. You cannot read and understand something you know sabi. Shall you understand? So once you start reading other people's code, that means you don't sabi. And now sabi we want to give you certificate. All right. So I want you to go on follow the steps that I have been following here one after the other. I want you to go and read this code. And as you're reading this code, in case you don't understand something, I am always available. We are always available. The WhatsApp group is always open. Okay. So in this case now, I'm going to type 0 because I want to exit. So if I type 0 now, what will happen? Let's go back to the show menu. If I type 0 now, it will say console.log goodbye, and then it will close the read line interface. So if I type 0, it says goodbye, you understand? And then it has closed and our program has been terminated. So this is the end of the program. So ladies and gentlemen, I would want you to go and read this program the way I have read it. Follow it step by step the way I followed it. Understand this code. There's a lot here. And this is your first journey. If you have not been writing program at this level, this will be your first journey. So now the thing is this, if you read this code and understand how this program worked, all right, you can even write a what's it called again? An ATM machine program. Just the same way we have done what we have done here. You can read input from the user, you can output to the user, you can do the same thing. You can ask users to create an account. They will create an account. You store it in your JSON file. You ask users to I don't want to give it to you as an assignment, but it is something I want you to try. You will ask user to create an account. They will create an account. They will have that password and that. It's going to be amazing. I want you to do that. I want you to do that. Okay. I want you to do that. Okay. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will be ending this video now. If you have any questions, you need any assistance, please, I'm always available. Thank you. And then I will see you in the next class.